So far in 2025, we have had 13 fight cards, 4 of those being pay-per-views and 9 of those being fight nights. It has definitely been a rough start for MMA fans, specifically those who watch the UFC. We have had some great fight nights in crowded arenas and some pretty underwhelming Apex events and some interesting pay-per-views that are both good and bad overall. Today I have a bit of a different video for you guys. It will be Shrimp and myself ranking all 13 events so far this year and giving our thoughts on each one. But without wasting any more time, let's start with our first event of the year. All right, we have the first event of the year. We had a UFC fight night, Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas 2. This was a rematch. We had a pretty good card overall. 5 decisions, 2 submissions, and 7 KOs/TKOs, which is crazy. We had Marco Tulio, his UFC debut. Yeah, and he's looked pretty good. We had some other random matches in the prelims. Or one of the most notable fighters was Roman Koplyov going up against Chris Curtis.
That was a awkward stoppage.
Yeah, that was definitely another interesting fighter that we had as well was Santiago Ponzinibbio. He went against Carlston Harris. That was a pretty good fight.
Yeah.
It was the co-main event of the card.
Christian Rodriguez.
Oh yeah, he
beat,
was also in this card too.
Yeah, he beat Raul Rosas Jr. a couple years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe he fights at bantamweight. So I'm not sure if this was his featherweight debut, but he did end up winning. And then in the main event we had Mackenzie Dern. I believe she had won by armbar.
Yeah, she won by submission in the 3rd round.
Yeah. Overall, this card I would say was like a solid way to start the year. Good little mix of everything. Only questionable thing was that I remember is the Chris Curtis and
Roman
Kopylov
Kopylov.
stoppage, but I'd say it's maybe like a solid C or B.
Since this is our first event that we're ranking, I feel like we're gonna put it straight in the middle. I'm gonna put it at C. Right here for right now.
Okay.
And
we'll
then
see from there.
yeah, as we move on, I feel like we're gonna move these events from one spot to another as we get to like some of the most recent ones.
All right. And moving on, we have UFC 311. We had Makachev and Moicano in a very awkward, like, what was it? Couple of hours? No, it was like 2 days, right? 2 to
It
3
was
days.
a pretty short freaking notice, bro. It was supposed to, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
I think it was a day. No,
Yeah. I forget
no.
exactly.
Yeah, I think it was a day.
So we had Armin and Islam get canceled, then Moicano and Dariush get canceled. Then we had Islam and Moicano become the main event. You know, we had some on the early prelims.
Easy money. Give me the easy money. And he got put in straight with Islam, bro.
Don't give me a bullshit fight. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
But overall, the card was pretty good. This is in no particular reason. But watching Umar lose was satisfying, and watching Marab win just because of the build-up was funny. What's your favorite moment with Islam? Jacuzzi,
Yeah.
Marab always witty. The main card was really good. The only fight that had gone to decision was that Marab and Umar won,
Mhm.
but Marab was showboating a lot. Either way, I don't think he would have gotten a finish. In the prelims, the fight to note is Peyton Talbot and Johnny Barcelos.
Dude, he got
Peyton Talbot,
dominated, bro.
yeah, he got bullied, and he lost all his aura after shaving his afro.
Yeah. And meeting up with Frank Ocean.
To Peyton Talbot taking Frank Ocean for Ocean Day. Peyton Talbot, he come back. He just needs to work on his grappling instead of pole dancing and taking Ferocious Day from Frank Ocean.
Yeah, because the way that he got dominated by Barcelos was actually crazy.
Yeah.
He had some moments, but like it was minuscule moments, bro. Barcelos was just doing whatever the hell he wanted on the ground, to be honest.
I lost my parlay because of that.
Yeah.
Peyton Talbot. There was a couple fights that got canceled. If I remember correctly, it was we had in total 3 fight cancellations. We had 3 bouts get canceled: Islam and Armin, Dariush and Moicano, and then in the prelims it was Johnny Walker and Bogdan Guskov,
Mm-hmm.
and then Zachary Reese and Cedric Dumas. So it was 4 actually.
Yeah.
The whole main event was weird. I don't want to say it was a free title win for Islam.
It was.
But,
it was, but it wasn't his fault. It was, but it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, I'm glad there wasn't a lot of people hating on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he had the whole narrative if he only beats 145ers and all that, and I'm like, dude. But yeah, Moicano, he got submitted. Islam won fair and square.
Yeah, dude, but
I feel like there was something I wanted to note that I completely forgot about, but it'll come back to me in a second.
Yeah, dude, this card was overall stacked, bro. You were about to mention that earlier. We had Kevin Holland, RDR. In the heavyweight, we had Jailton Almeida and Sergey Spivak. We had Jiri going up against Jamal Hill, bro.
Yuri
Dude, that
Prochazka.
fight, yeah. Dude, that fight was so fun to watch. And then even in the prelims, like you said earlier, we had the Peyton Talbot versus Barcelos. We did miss out on Johnny Walker, but his fight got canceled. But it is,
Johnny Walker would have gotten chinned.
yeah, he
It's
probably
scary.
would have. But yeah, this was a pretty good card overall, dude. We had 7 decisions, 3 submissions, and 3 finishes by KO/TKO. So,
Yeah. What I will say is watching Islam break the title defense record,
oh
that was
yeah,
cool.
right.
So that also happened that night.
This is a pretty top heavy pay per view card though, because
Yeah.
the main card definitely carried the whole pay per view, in
Yeah.
my
I will say
opinion.
I'll agree with that. And just because of that, I would say instead it probably an A for me, not an S.
I think I agree too. I don't think it was crazy enough to where it's the S tier. Maybe it is. Once we rank all of the events, it might be the best. But for right now, I feel like A is a pretty good spot to put it at.
All right.
Boom.
And so moving on, we have Adesanya versus Imavov. It did take place in Saudi. Really weird how these Saudi cards always have such great fights on them. Just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty solid card. They had some good fighters on the prelims. Most notably Terrence McKinney. We met him outside of Seattle.
Yes, sir.
And then on the main card, you had the likes of Israel and Imavov, Sharpun Magomedov and MVP, Sergey Pavlovich and Rosenstrike. And then we had Vinicius Oliveira and Said Nurmagomedov.
Oh yeah.
Vinicius, he looked really good that night. I remember. And then he called out Umar right afterwards, which I think is a little early.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually I do want to see those two fight.
Yeah. And then we had Shamil the Blob Gaziev in the prelims.
Shamil the Meal Deal.
Yeah, Shamil the Meal Deal. That's funny, dude.
Yeah. Burger good. French fries good.
Yeah, dude.
No.
In this card, we had no submissions whatsoever. We had 7 decisions and 4 KO/TKOs. I was a pretty fun card to watch overall. It was hella freaking early, and I don't
It was
think
worth it.
it was worth it. I woke up right for the Shamil Gaziev fight, actually.
I woke up for the Terrence McKinney one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Dude, I was so sad that I missed it because he
Terrence
freaking.
McKinney put the work on him.
Yep, he did. Pretty freaking fast, too. And then watching this was my second Israel Adesanya fight that I've ever watched. And
He's 0-2 when you watch him.
yeah, he's 0-2 when I watch him. So maybe I won't tune in for his next fight so that he can get a victory.
Maybe we'll have to see, especially who he fights next. I'm not entirely sure who he would fight next because
Yeah, neither am I.
tough
But
fights everywhere.
But Imavov,
He looked so good that night,
he did.
or I guess morning.
No, it was
Yeah,
night for
he looked
them. For
really
him, it was night.
For Adesanya, it was night.
Mm-hmm.
No,
This guy. So
But yeah.
for the tier list, I don't want to put it. Definitely not want to put it with 311, but
But I also don't want to put it with C.
yeah,
I'd probably say B tier, right?
I feel like it's a safe B tier for now for fight night Adesanya versus Imavov.
Yes, sir. All right.
Yep, and then after this fight night, we had UFC 312. DDP going up against Sean Strickland for the middleweight title. This was the second time they fought, right?
Yes.
We had 9 total decisions. One of them was a draw, 1 submission, and 2 KO/TKOs, bro. I watched this fight with your brother at the bar, bro. Dude, it was pretty boring. The highlight or
the card?
The card for me was pretty boring. My favorite fight of that night was the championship for the women.
Zhang Weili and Tatiana Suarez?
Yeah.
Yeah, this card, it's really hard to judge it because it started off strong. You had the stoppage of please don't redeem it. That stoppage, and then Cody Steele and Rong Zhu. They put on a really crazy back and forth fight.
That is very true. That is very true. I totally brushed past the early prelims, but those are pretty freaking good.
You had Colby Thickness and Toporia's brother. Topuria walked
Colby
down Colby
who?
Thickness. Yep, I'm saying that right. You had that fight, and Topuria just kind of like shut him out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Wang Kong and Bruno Brazil. So you had a Fighting Nerds fighter taking out.
Oh, you're right. The plot armor doesn't work for women's fights.
I'm not saying nothing. Jack Jenkins and Santos.
Shout out to the homie
they're
Tyler.
down submission. Shout out Tyler. And then we move on to the main card. Matthews and Francisco. That one, I just remember feeling bad for Francisco that there's not a 165 division because man, he's too big for 155, but he's too small for 170. So
Mm,
someone like him suffers a lot.
yeah.
You had Jimmy Crute and Rodolfo go to a decision after, or a draw, sorry,
That was the draw,
after,
bro.
yeah, after Crute was away for a while after what had happened in his last fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Taliesin Teixeira. This is probably the most biggest note on this card is he went out there and just boom elbow Justin Toffel right in the face. He's like what 6'6". He's pretty tall. He's a pretty tall dude. He's a good prospect. I believe he's fighting Derek Lewis next. Is something I saw like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's gonna be a good fun fight. Moving on to the co-main event, I'm so glad Zhang Weili bullied Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah, dude, that was. I'm
Um,
telling you, that was a really fun fight to watch.
yeah, it was good
Or.
seeing Suarez
Mm-hmm.
get humbled. Not only Swallows get humbled, but same thing with Sean Strickland because Sean was making lots of fun of Wei Li for being, hey, the Chinese woman,
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wasn't really likable at all that week, I remember. So I get it, that's his teammate, but I don't think you should support in that way.
Yeah.
So that made the main event that much better. Watching Drake is just completely shut him out, break his nose, and bully him.
I guess you're right, Ivan. It was a DDP masterclass. He again completely shut out Sean. He was just kind of taking everything. I mean, I guess that's his style is pretty slow and his boxing is pretty good, but he couldn't do anything in DDP.
He looked tentative.
Yeah, like 311. This was another pretty top heavy card to be honest. Especially with the main and co-main event.
Yeah, it was a cool card. I wouldn't be too mad putting it at C tier.
What tier?
See?
See? Yeah. Entertainment wise, it wasn't the funnest fight to watch, but
Domination.
in domination and
It was satisfying watching fighters get humbled.
yeah, that's what I meant. Thank
Sure.
you.
All right.
So yeah, I would have to agree. C tier. Cool. After UFC 312, we had a fight night between Jared Cannonier and Gregory Rodriguez.
You got this one. I remember you got a lot of the fights on this one correct.
I did.
You picked, yeah, you made a bet. I remember that you made a parlay and it hit.
Oh, you.
Um
Yeah.
yeah, you predicted the main event on this one. Cannonier winning. I went the opposite route. I had gone Rodriguez.
Hmm.
This is before we started doing breakdowns, but we were still comparing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Anything of note?
This card, 6 decisions, 2 submissions, 4 KO/TKOs. The main event was a scrap, bro. I freaking loved watching that fight. Super fun. They both went at it, and Jared Cannonier was throwing bombs, and he destroyed Gregory Rodriguez. And people were saying that Cannonier was washed, that he was already like old, that this and that, and he proved them wrong. There was a little bit of hate on Zalal, especially after his third round, that he was just kind of running away. But we talked about this, Ivan, in a previous video where you said that people weren't too happy with it, but it is what it is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do in order to win a fight, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Cater was gonna go out there and finish him by no means. But the whole event was cool. I watched all of it. The one thing I do remember from that night that was crazy was the submission that Walter Walker got, Johnny Walker's brother. Remember that being a cool submission? And on the main card, it was a cool card. The main event for me is what really like bumps this card up for me
Mm-hmm.
was seeing Unk still got it.
Yeah.
I picked Gregory Rodriguez, but I was happy with Jared Cannonier winning because
Yeah.
Unk still got it.
But that's good because now Jared Cannonier coming off a win, he's gonna be a test to like another up and comer in the middleweight division. I think like he did with
Yeah, I
Gregory
mean, like,
Rodriguez.
Here's the thing is, Cannonier has been fighting Gillish for so long. I mean, I remember when he fought Robert Whitaker on the Khabib and Gaethje card
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years back, and ever since that fight, I feel like he's been fighting nothing but killers. I think his last 3 have been Gregory Rodriguez, Kyle, and Imavov.
Oh dang,
And
yeah, that's crazy.
that's a good. He has a very crazy resume.
Yeah,
He's 40. The career change he had is insane. This guy's jacked now. It's always good to see someone like this.
yeah,
And his story is just like a feel-good story. Good seeing him win. I got my pick wrong, but I was happy nonetheless.
yeah. This is like you said. This was a card where the main event definitely bumps up the rating, in my opinion. But I don't think I'd put it at an
Higher.
A tier
Or a B tier.
or a B tier though, just because of the fights that accompanied the main event. You know.
Yeah.
I feel like a
So
C
C?
tier. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel
I'll
like a
put it,
C
yeah,
tier.
low end C tier.
Okay, yeah. So, dude, let's do a ranking within a ranking.
Yep. So I put probably I don't know.
So we're gonna do best to worst.
Yeah.
So probably like, because I feel like this one was better than the Mackenzie Dern and Ribas card though,
Okay.
but it wasn't better
Just
than,
because of the main event.
yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
So I think I'm
Okay.
gonna leave it like this,
Cool.
to where the DDP was better than these two, which is why it's closer to the C ranking.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. And moving on to the next event, we had Song Yadong and Cejudo. This was in Seattle. We actually attended this card. It's our first UFC card we attended. And, this one was really insane. We had lots of fight cancellations leading to the event.
Yeah, dude, this was a roller coaster ride, dude, because some fights got canceled. Then at first it looked like there was gonna be only like 9 fights, but then they added more, and oh, dude, it turned out great though. I'm not complaining whatsoever.
It was a really great card. I remember the first fight of the night, Bukowskis, insane knockout. You heard every thud and all that. I lost my voice on that first fight, which was,
Dude, 7 finishes in
seven
a row,
straight
bro.
finishes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And in total, how many was it? 9?
it was 8. We had 4 decisions, 2 submissions, and 6 KOs/TKOs.
Yeah, so a lot of people from around the area ended up winning. The crowd really did cheer for them. I
No,
remember there
the
was
the Washington native lost, bro. Andre Philly.
so it was Philly. That
Mm-hmm.
was one of the only people that lost that night.
Austin
Everyone
Vanderford
else.
from Portland. He was the one who won.
Yeah, Austin, he was that fight was good to see. Everyone started booing and flipping off the Nico dude, his opponent,
Oh
because he ended up
right.
pushing him. Yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but the people that were like on the floor,
Uh huh.
they were like boo, and they started flipping him off, and I'm like, all right.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
There was some crazy finishes. Ricky Simone is the probably had the best finish of the night, and I'd say
I think so
probably
too.
Kutalaba and Ivo Aslan had the best fight of the night. They were going back and forth.
Yeah, dude, that Ricky
Um,
Simon knockout was crazy, and he left Bashra like not knowing where the heck he
Unconscious.
was. He had no idea what happened. He had no idea where he was. He was lost, bro.
I don't know if you saw it, but when he stepped outside of the octagon, he started staring at one of the cameras and the lights because like he was just staring into it. I wasn't sure if he was like unconscious or what, but it was a really scary sight to see.
Yeah, dude.
Um,
And then we got to see Jin Silva fight, bro, in person. That was so cool.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to attribute the people, but I want to say a big reason for the way that the fights went was the crowd. Everyone was super loud. That was a really great experience. We got to meet a couple of the fighters. The fighter we got to meet that was on the card was Julius Walker. Really chill dude. Excited to see his next
Oh
fight.
yeah, we got to meet him afterwards, huh?
Yeah. The only thing I had a problem with this card was the main event.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, nothing you could do about it. That eye poke, it's like a big story.
Yeah.
You know.
Just to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning, 7 finishes in a row, dude. I'm gonna be a little biased since it was our first event. It was super fun for us to watch, at least. And I feel like it deserves a super high spot on our tier list.
I'd agree. The only other thing that to know is you lost your shirt.
Oh man, why'd you remember me, bro?
Yep, lost the shirt. That was funny.
The pretzel with queso was good though, even though it was like $30.
I paid like $15 for a slice of pizza.
Yeah,
Didn't even get a drink.
it's crazy. But there wasn't really, well, there was a controversial decision, and that was the Rob Font and the Jin Matsumoto fight. But other than that, all the fights were great, bro. We did
Yeah, I
have,
wasn't sure in the
sorry.
moment how to score that fight.
Uh huh.
Oh, another thing to note, like we said, all the canceled fights. Sadly, I didn't get to see two of the people I wanted to see fight the most,
You're
which was
right.
Dominic Cruz
Mm-hmm.
and
And
Edson Barboza.
yeah.
They weren't fighting each other, but they were fighting on the same card, obviously.
All right, Ivan. Any final thoughts?
It's a really great card. It was good to see. I was really happy with the event. Worth every single penny and dime.
All right, just my final thoughts for this card. 8 finishes, 4 decisions. Some controversial stuff, especially in that main event. But overall, this was a pretty fun card, bro. And I don't think it was better than the Islam Makhachev and Renato Moicano card, but I think it is deserving of an A tier.
I'd agree.
And if I were to let my biased opinion affect this decision even more, I'd put it at S tier, bro. But I'm not gonna let my
But we gotta keep it
feelings.
unbiased. We gotta keep it unbiased.
Okay, yeah. So then A tier for sure.
Thank you, sir.
For the first card of March, we had a fight night between Cop and Azu Almabayev. This is a overall decent, fun card. We had 6 decisions and 4 TKO slash KO finishes. The most notable fight for me, other than the Cop versus Azu, was the Chepe Mariscal fight, dude. He looked hella freaking good. And Chepe Mariscal is very underrated, in my opinion. Yeah, and then another fight. Sorry, I totally forgot about this other one. But Mario Pinto went up against Austin Lane. Austin Lane is, I don't want to be rude, but he's not UFC material. But Mario Pinto looked so good in that fight. And that KO he got was ridiculous. It was so cool.
I don't really remember much from this card besides the fact that Cop had that awkward eye poke finish. So I remember this was really sour because we had like back-to-back main events end with eye pokes or had
Yeah.
eye pokes in them. Yeah, not too much really to know with this card. It was cool. It was a really big like I don't want to say underperform, but I think it was the fact that UFC Seattle overperformed. We had
Yeah.
such a great card with lots of finishes, and then boom, we got let down like this.
Yeah, makes
Um,
sense. Man, I feel like I'm being too harsh, but I don't want to put this at C tier, bro.
I want to put it at D.
Yeah, I want to definitely put it at D. All of the events that we have in their tier list currently, all of the main events have been pretty cool,
It makes sense.
except for the Henry Cejudo and Song. But the co-main
Yeah.
event and the whole card was super good. That I feel like it definitely overshadows the main event in how good it
Yeah.
was.
Okay.
And I don't think Cop and Oz were
I'm
as
biased.
good as good as these guys. So I feel like I am gonna put this one at D.
All right. Moving on, we have UFC 313. This is the first video we ever did a breakdown and predictions card for.
Yes.
So this is what really got us started. Early prelims, if I remember correctly, we had Gutierrez and Castaneda cancel and like
Yeah.
uh
It was super last
TK.
minute too.
So not too much to know besides Ozzy Diaz winning. In the prelims,
Hold on, dude. That fight was a scrap, bro. They went at it. It was a super fun fight to watch, dude. That early prelim fight was crazy. It was super fun. It was a great way to start 313.
and then for like what feels the fifth time in a row, we had Curtis Blades and the Rizvan Cunha fight get canceled.
Dude, for real, we were
You don't
supposed to
even
see
know.
that in Seattle, bro.
It's been canceled like 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
It's been rescheduled. We had Marion Santos and Francis the Fireman Marshall. I remember that fight being a little controversial for people on the way it had ended.
Yeah, especially that decision.
And then we had Morono and Leal. I tried going for a hardcore pick, betting on Alex. You know,
You and Diego,
that's
dude.
just
You
what
and
we're gonna
Diego
start calling
both
it.
went for that pick.
That's what we're gonna call it, just the hardcore pick.
Yeah.
And then if you guys listen to me on Bruno getting a second round submission, you would have got some money. You know.
Yeah.
Predicted that one. All right, and we had the likes of Joshua Van. Let me tell you about this kid. Badass. All right. He looked really good in the boxing. Shut down Ray Saruya. So I'm glad that Joshua Van's getting I believe a top 15 opponent next. Ray Saruya, he's good as well, but he's young and needs to develop a more stand-up game because if he continues to just try to like
Take down spamming, bro.
wrestle his way, yeah, and it doesn't work out, then
Yeah.
moving on to the main card. We had the cancellation of Gaethje and Hooker. Really sad to see that one, but we had Fiziev thankfully come and step in. This next thing I'm about to talk about, Bobby Green and Mauricio, right? That was insane. I remember me and you were sitting down watching, and we saw him land the head kick, and we were like, "Whoa!" And then when we realized after what happened, we started freaking out because, dude, that was an insane knockout.
Yeah, dude.
The
It was
plot armor that
crazy.
these guys have, and then
The trash fight,
this
bro.
next fight. This next fight is my justified reason for women's MMA. Okay. This fight ended 5 seconds early. That's all I have to say. Moving on, we had Bahamondes retire Jalen Turner. Really sad to see, but we have a prospect at 155 now in Bahamondes. Excited to see
Really freaking
his
good.
next. Who's he fighting next?
I
Fiziev?
think so.
And that's funny because the co-main event of this card was Gaethje and Fiziev, and I
I think
remember
there were
Fiziev had a
talks.
really
There
good
were
first
talks of
round.
them fighting each other.
Yeah. Fiziev had a really good first round against Gaethje, similar to last fight.
Mm-hmm.
It went Gaethje 2-3, and then a really frustrating fight with Alex and Magomed. Obviously, I have a really big bias towards Alex.
Yeah.
After the delusion wore off, it was pretty clear to me that Magomed had won that fight by,
Mm-hmm.
Alex's takedown defense looked really solid though. Hopefully in the rematch, 10% more aggression and, get some out of there.
Yeah. I thought this was a pretty fun card overall. I'm telling you, the card started out with the banger and Jordan Santos and Nazi Diaz. The prelims started out kind of controversial with that decision, but it kind of picked up with the next three fights, two finishes, and then that decision win by Joshua Van. But that was a really good performance by him. And then the main card was pretty fun to watch, except for that women's fights that we're talking about that we're not going to continue to talk about.
Shout out Tyler.
Shout out Tyler. Shout out to the homie Tyler.
Every time we talk about a women's fight, we have to mention Tyler.
Yeah. And the Justin Gaethje and Fiziev fight was super fun. It was super cool to watch Fiziev step in on a really short notice, even though I did want to see that Dan Hooker fight, though, because they were about to
I
throw.
think everyone did.
Yeah, definitely.
Someone's gonna die that night. I love this shit, boys.
Yeah. And
Someone's gonna
then
die that night.
the main event for Ankalaev fans was good. But for us that we are Pereira fans, bro, that was so like frustrating and to watch, bro.
Potards. Yeah, it was very frustrating to watch.
I think the highlight for me for this event though was the Mauricio Rufy knockout, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would put it at. I don't want to rank it on the same tier as Imavov and Adesanya. I'd probably put it at a C tier, middle of the pack C tier.
Middle of the pack C tier. Dang, that's kind of harsh, no?
I'm not sure.
I was thinking.
Maybe I'm just saying that because,
I thought this card was better than Sean Strickland versus DDP.
Okay.
And
a low B tier.
I think I want to put it right behind the Imavov and Adesanya card.
Yeah. Cool.
The
last couple fights definitely still good.
Yeah, I want to put it after better than the Imavov and Adesanya card, dude.
Maybe it's just me hating because I didn't get the fighter I wanted to win, right? But yeah.
I think I'm gonna put it at B tier.
High B tier?
High B tier, yeah.
All right, cool. Moving on. We have Dilidze and Vittori 2.
The rematch that nobody wanted.
Yep. I don't know who asked for it, but if you asked for it, you need to check yourself into a mental institution.
Yeah. This card started out with two bangers, bro. Started hot with the women's fights, dude. 2 knockouts in a row from.
Shout out women's MMA.
Yes, shout out to women's MMA on this card. They went crazy, except for the Luciano and Sam Hughes fight. We're not counting that in this conversation. But it started out with bangers, bro. Even the Andre Lima and Daniel Barres fight was super fun to watch. Andre Lima looked hella good against Daniel Barres, and he ended up submitting him. He was showing Daniel Barres that he could dominate him on the feet and on the ground. And then moving on, we had Josiah Muzazas get not necessarily fraud checked because he wasn't really like building anything in the UFC, but he was a prospect that a lot of people were like, oh, this guy might be the next big thing. Yeah, watch out for him. And Carlos Berra freaking destroyed him, bro, and submitted him in the first round. After that, it was kind of slowed down a little bit, except for the last card of the prelims where Waldo Cortez Acosta welcomed Ryan Spann into the heavyweight with a crazy knockout, bro.
Boom. The main card was cool. You had Kevin Vallejo's win by, he won a knockout. He looked, I don't remember how old Kevin is, but someone to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, dude.
El Chino is what they call him.
Yeah, Kevin Vallejos is good, and I feel like he's going to be a top 15 fighter.
2001. So this guy's like, what, 24?
24, yeah. 23, 24.
Yeah, this guy's someone to look out for in that featherweight division.
Mm-hmm.
Always had great fighters, young fighters. And yeah, this card was pretty good, except for the main event. No one asked for this.
Yeah, watch this card from top to bottom. And overall, like I said, it was pretty fun to watch. We had a lot of submissions, actually. We had, where I feel like this card was really well-rounded. We had 4 decisions, 4 submissions, and 5 KO/TKO finishes, bro. So we got finishes in all the departments, And even though we got a rematch that we did not want to see, I still think this was a pretty good card overall. Even though the Marvin Vettori and Roman Dolidze fight was not the greatest to watch.
Yeah. It was a pretty good card besides the main event. I'm starting to notice that's a really like
Yeah, especially the Alex Pereira event, then the Henry Cejudo controversy. Then we had the Cop and Azu controversy too. And this there was no controversy in this fight against these two, but it was a pretty underwhelming fight. I mean, they were throwing bombs, but it was like I don't even know how to explain it. Like it wasn't the greatest fight to watch for that main event in the Apex, you know. And for that reason, I think it's better. I think this card was definitely better than the Cop versus Azu. And I want to put it in C tier, but I want to put it before the Dern and Ribas card. What do you think, Ivan? Like low C tier, like right there.
I said, all right, that's cool.
All right, four more
Um,
cards remaining. The next one was Fight Night in London. Leon Edwards taking on Sean Brady.
pound for pound, backshot dead. Man, this card was cool. Had a couple canceled fights. I remember, wasn't it JDM that was supposed to fight Edwards?
Yeah, it was supposed to be JDM.
Yeah, this card was cool.
I don't
You
think
had
this. I don't
Moss
think this card.
Tybura.
I don't think this card was cool.
It was cool. Tybura, he's a great fighter. I'd love to fight him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would say. Wasn't anything that's gonna pop out of you. Let's just call it what it is. It was very top heavy, and even still wasn't. You had Kevin Holland and Nelson, Molly McCann retiring, which don't know why her name was always associated with Patty, and that's why she was big. But
Yeah.
besides that, she never really did look great. And then in that co-main event, Blachowicz and Olberg, Blachowicz showing his age
Mm-hmm.
and experience. Yeah, I don't think it was a robbery, as a lot of people would say, but definitely Jan showing his age. Very sad to see. And then the main event. Oh man, I can't do a Leon Edwards impression. Best night fight in a row, bro. Nah, I can't. He was sleepy. All right, Edwards was sleepy once again.
This guy. It was
Um,
in. It was in
it was
England.
exactly he was sleepy. That's what his excuse last time when he fought Bilal
What a
in
guy.
Liverpool.
What a guy.
Yeah, Edwards and Brady. Sean Brady put on a wrestling clinic on Edwards. I remember you had a lot to say about this card or about this fight because of how sad and depressing it was watching Edwards just not wanting to be in there.
Yeah. I did mention that.
It's
I'm
crazy.
gonna get straight to the point. I think this card was trash. Okay, not trash, but it was bad. Cole Fernandez started out the card pretty good. He was dominating Guram Kutalad's day. Nathan Fletcher and Color Loran went into like a wrestling scrap. Shauna Bannon got a great comeback win over Puja Tamar, but it is what it is. And RIP Indian MMA fans. The Christian Leroy Duncan fight against Andre, that was super boring to watch. The Marcin Tavora versus Mick Parkin was also really boring to watch. I was just having an old blob going against a younger blob, not doing much. And a lot of people thought this was a pretty controversial decision win for Marcin Tavora, but that just adds to how like bad this card was in my opinion. The Lonnie Kavanaugh versus Felipe Dos Santos fight was actually really fun to watch. They were going at it, a lot of blood, a lot of violence. Jai Herbert versus Chris Padilla, terrible fight. After we had Nathaniel Wood get a good win over Morgan Charrier, which is decently okay. Chris Duncan, fraud checking Jordan Vucenic. Welcome to the UFC Part 2. Damali McCann, she's just bad. She got beat on short notice from Thainara. In my opinion, the Kevin Holland fight was the best one, I think, even though it wasn't the greatest either. And I think the worst fight was Carlos Olberg and Jan Blachowicz. Just because, again, you said earlier, Jan was kind of showing his age, and Carlos Olberg was respecting Jan a little bit too much, I think.
Mm.
And that might be a hot take, but I don't care. I thought this card was pretty bad. And we get to the main event. Sean Brady, total masterclass. He did amazing, but like you said, Ivan, it was super sad to watch Leon Edwards just getting,
Give up.
yeah, just give up, getting smothered, getting destroyed on the ground until eventually Sean Brady ended his misery with a submission. So I'm just going to go straight to my ranking and I'm going to put it at D right before Cop and Azu. Unless you want to
Yep.
argue with me.
No, it's cool.
All right. And then from that one, we went straight to Mexico City for Moreno and Usyk. For this one, we had 7 decisions, 1 submission, and 4 KO/TKO wins. I'm going to be a little biased, but this card was pretty fun overall. I mean, it started out pretty slow with that Marco Madero's fight against Dustin Hubbard, but it picked up with Jamal Emmers knocking out Gabriel Miranda. But then it went down again in Rafa Garcia versus Vince Pichel, and kind of picked up again with Lupe Godinez and Julia Pilastri. That was a pretty fun scrap to watch. The Christian Rodriguez and Mexico Costa fight was also fun to watch. I thought Costa was going to be able to submit Christian Rodriguez, but I definitely underestimated Christian Rodriguez, and that was my fault. But good win. And then Atiba Gutierrez came out and destroyed Jose Medina. For the main card, it was pretty good. The only kind of underwhelming fight was the Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales.
No, I'd have to disagree.
You have
The most underwhelming one was Lazy Boy.
underwhelming from his performance though, but he got dominated by Kevin Borjas, and that was fun to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
Even though I love Lazy Boy and I really wanted him to win, and I would have gone 12-0 if Lazy Boy would have won that fight too.
The only fight to note that got canceled was Kelvin Gastelum and Joe Pyfer.
Which got rescheduled.
Rosas almost got choked out. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a chin on him, so you had Shirez finally be able to put it together. We always knew he was good. He put it together and he submitted CJ. Manuel Torres, he knocked out Drew Dober and his Iron Chin.
Before you move on, David Martinez, we skipped over him, but man, that kid looked good. He knocked out Simon Oliveira, dude. That was crazy, and he's definitely a prospect that people
Someone
should
to look
watch
out
out.
for.
Yes, definitely. Sorry for interrupting you. You were saying that Manuel
Oh,
Torres knocked out Drew Dober.
we had Manuel Torres put out Drew Dober's Crimson Chin in a weird situation where Drew Dober stood up and didn't think the fight was over.
Mm,
And then the main event, we had a vintage Moreno performance.
yeah,
Obviously, some bias here, but I thought Moreno was gonna put away Steve Erceg. He started off strong, slowed down. Moreno looked good. I'm not too sure if you give him a title shot in this instance because he's 0-2 against Pantoja.
I think he's
And then
0-3.
yeah, but in the UFC,
Oh, okay.
not because he lost to him in Tough, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he's 0-2 in the UFC, and he's 1-1 with Brandon Royval, and Royval just beat him.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
but he has beat two good opponents. I don't know if he just sits around for a while Kai Kara France and Pantoja are most likely to fight, and Cape and Royval fight. That fight's happening still, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's their
Okay.
own main event for Fight Night, I believe.
No, yeah, but let me see.
Oh, is it or
Double
no?
check. Oh, it says rebooked for UFC 317.
Oh yeah. It got moved to International Fight Week.
Okay. But yeah.
Just final
Sure.
thoughts, Ivan.
Cool card. Moreno and Urseg, they put on a good fight. It was good. This is not affecting the card, but it was cool having everyone there that night watching the card.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Um,
Where would you put
I don't
this
know where I
at?
would rank this. I want to say I'd put that probably at like a B tier.
I was
Yeah, maybe a
thinking,
B tier.
yeah, B tier. Probably right here.
Cool.
What do you think? Right before
Yeah.
or
It's cool.
not as good as Adesanya and Imavov, but definitely deserving of a B tier.
All right, that's cool.
Cool. Moving on to Emmett versus Murphy. Boom. That's all I got to say. Straight to the F tier, bro. I freaking hated this card.
Now that we both agreed on that without saying anything, let's just talk about it. This was really weak. It wasn't entertaining whatsoever.
Props to Reese
And
McKee, bro. He carried this card on his
yeah,
back.
Reese McKee.
Shout out to Reese McKee. He freaking that was awesome. That was great. Really good to watch.
Other thing to note is Pat Sabatini. He looked really good. Just makes you realize how good Diego Lopez really is.
Yeah,
Um,
that's very
we
true.
had Ode Osborne, get a really good knockout, and before that we had a really frustrating fight with Torius Finney.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, dude! I can't believe I put hype on Torres Finney. I put all my freaking marbles on
that
Torres Finney.
meatball.
I thought, yeah, dude, I thought he was gonna do get better. I thought he was gonna come out and freaking ground and pound the shit out of Robert Valentin, and he did the complete opposite.
He just stunk it up the entire time.
Yeah, dude, but 8 freaking decisions, 1 submission, and 3 KO/TKO finishes. Like I said, overall, this was boring. I regret watching this card from top to bottom, bro.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about it. Let's just
Yeah,
the main event
the
horrible.
I agree. It was horrible.
It was really annoying to watch.
Like I said
Um,
on my breakdown video, it was Leron Murphy's plan, and he executed it perfectly because he got the win. But that was I don't even that was so frustrating to watch. Put him up against Gene Silva so that he can destroy him, bro, right now.
featherweight, you guys have a Leon Edwards.
Ah, bro, this guy.
Mhm.
I meant Leron Murphy, bro. They're both like I said in the other
No,
video.
you didn't say Leon Edwards.
No, I said Leon Edwards instead of Leron Murphy.
No, you said Leron Murphy. I said Leon Edwards because of similar. They're both English.
No,
They're
but
both
in our
foreign.
314 and our 314
Oh yeah,
I said in
yeah,
our
yeah.
314 breakdown video, I said put or put Leon Edwards
Leon
and
Edwards.
oh my gosh, they're both
Yeah.
English fighters, bro.
Hey, but you know what? This just leaves the best for last. All right, UFC 314, amazing. We had the back-to-back finishes and Nora Cornoli and Marco Tulio.
Mhm.
You know, Marco Tulio continues to look great and improving in every fight. You know, good fun fight. And then we move on to a stinker and Sue Madergi and Mitroposo. It was like I said, stinky.
Yeah. Real
Um,
quick, Ivan.
we got
Before we continue breaking down the card, what tier would you put it at? Say it in three. We're gonna say it together, okay? Let's see if you
okay,
agree. One, two, three. S tier.
S.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
sir.
All right, yeah, just no S. We're gonna put it at S tier.
Yeah, we had 5 decisions, 2 submissions, 6 KO/TKO wins. But the reason why I think this is an S tier is because the outcome of the fights that happened opened up
For the best outcome.
was the best outcome for better matches for the respective divisions. Like starting from the early prelims, like you said earlier, Marco Tulio looked great. That puts up a new prospect for the middleweight division, even though it's already pretty good right now. We had Mikal, new fighting nerd, more pro armor for him. Chase
Have a
Hooper,
big step down in competition.
yeah, big step down in competition that helped him. Chase Hooper looked good against Jim Miller.
Brenda Jandiroba put on a wrestling clinic on Yan Janan.
That's gonna get her a title shot next. The only thing that kind of sucked was Sean Woodson losing out on his rank. I feel like he was still gonna get pieced up though, even though that it was an early stoppage. Now that I
Yeah,
rewatched the fight,
apparently Ige was up 2-0 on the scorecards.
yeah,
I'm not
I,
entirely
s-
sure if I agree with
I
that.
think it was 1-1.
Yeah, I think that third round would have definitely gone to Ige,
Mm-hmm.
just because of, that was the biggest shot landed.
Yeah,
Really awkward stoppage. What was the other awkward stoppage on this card?
it was like tracking back a little bit. That McCall versus Dumas. Another super amazing great outcome was Dominic Reyes winning, bro. His third fight in
Thank
a
you,
row.
Jesus.
Just that him having that career resurgence is awesome.
Yo, good moment.
Mm-hmm. Gene Silva stepping into the rankings, getting his feet wet. Hopefully he gets another ranked fighter next, probably in the top 10, so that he can get tested further. He does not deserve a title shot yet, even though he did win against Patricio Pitbull. I feel like now that Alexander Volkanovski was able to beat Diego Lopez, and that was another really good outcome for the featherweight, even though Ilya Shadow is still there, because Ilya Topuria beat Volkanovski. And until someone beats Volkanovski, it's still going to be there. But anyway, it opens up a new matchup between Yair Rodriguez and Diego Lopez, especially after that press conference. And then Paddy Pimlet, bro, getting closer to a title shot, which is crazy to say, you know?
I'd just say closer to a title shot. Putting on a dominant performance, man.
For real. He put up a wrestling striking clinic on Michael Chandler.
Yeah, he just bullied Michael Chandler that entire time.
Yeah. And in my opinion, on paper, this is probably the most that card out of all of the events so far this year. And one of the best and more fun and more entertaining week build-ups so far too.
Yeah, the buildup of what's his name?
Bryce Mitchell and Gene Silva.
Silva and Bryce Mitchell. That
Yes.
was that was a great fight and buildup. Now we have a new like rivalry, Lopez and Rodriguez,
Mm-hmm.
which this is besides the point, but I want to see Rodriguez and Lopez fight. Rodriguez, you are not gonna get a title shot. Please fight Lopez.
Yes. Yes. And like
But yeah, the card was great.
yeah, the card was great. The outcomes were great. The whole week build-up was great. Everything about this card was great, except the two
Yeah,
controversial stoppages. But Everything else overshadows that, in my opinion.
Everything else that happened that was good, you know, that Dominic Reyes win alone.
Yeah.
So far this year, all the cards have been pretty good for the most part. There haven't been too many stinky ones. It's only going to get better, hopefully, with International Fight Week.
Yes. The next fight night in Kansas City, looking like it's gonna be pretty good.
Some good matchups coming up,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Protest and Gary.
But yeah, just
Should be.
to wrap things up, Ivan, do you have any more thoughts? You think we should change any of our fight cards, or what do you think?
I think it's good. I think everything makes sense where it's at. Was great. Yeah, really. Yep, happy with this. Voice crack. Happy with this.
Yeah, I am happy with this too. I think we did pretty good.
Let us know if you like this style of video. What you think?
Yeah, we can definitely do another type of tier list or something like this, something different than just a fight card breakdown, giving our predictions on the fights. Alright, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you liked the new style of video. We want to try out something different, but sweet. I'll let you guys go, and we will see you guys in the next video. Adios.